An extraordinary civilization like that of the Aztecs still holds so many enigmas. Masters of engineering, creators of fascinating and challenging customs, they built an impressive empire, yet still left us with unanswered questions. Where is Moctezuma's missing treasure? What was the meaning of the sinister death whistles? And did the legendary land of Aztlán really exist? Today, we will dive into 21 mysteries of the Aztec Empire, revealing secrets that may change your perspective on this fascinating people. Stay with us until the end and discover stories that defy time and logic. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell to follow all our investigations into ancient civilizations and much more. 1. The mythical origin of the Aztecs. Did Aztlán really exist? One of the greatest mysteries surrounding the Aztecs is the legendary Aztlán, the mythical place from which, according to them, they set out toward the center of Mexico. In the Nahuatl language, Aztec literally means people of Aztlán. Various colonial chronicles mention this place as the ancestral home of the tribes that migrated to the Valley of Mexico. According to Mexica legends, Aztlán was an extraordinary place, but it was abandoned after the god Huitzilopochtli ordered the Aztecs to call themselves Mexicas and to embark on a journey that would end with the founding of Tenochtitlan, the heart of the empire. Still, Aztlán was never found. Other Nahuatl traditions mention Chicomostoc, the place of the 7 caves, from which tribes like the Xochimilcas, Tlahuicas, and Acolhuas are said to have departed before founding important city-states. For the Aztecs, Aztlán remained a distant memory, shrouded in mystery. Some scholars suggest that Aztlán might have been located in regions like the Arizona desert or on islands like Mexicaltzingo. Spanish colonial maps even pointed to legendary locations that could have been Aztlán, deepening the mystery. For many historians, however, Aztlán represents a powerful metaphor, the cultural and spiritual unity that brought the indigenous peoples together to build the mighty Mexica Empire. 2. The death of Moctezuma II, murder or ritual. Moctezuma II ruled the Aztec Empire at its height, from 1502 to 1520. He was seen as an almost divine figure and lived through the most dramatic moment in Mexica history, the encounter with Hernán Cortés's Spanish conquerors. Captured during the siege of the city, Moctezuma died under circumstances that remain debated to this day. Some Spanish accounts claim that he was killed by his own people, enraged at his supposed submission to the invaders, stoning him to death. Indigenous sources, however, say that the Spaniards killed Moctezuma, fearing that he might lead a revolt against them. What is certain is that his body was thrown into the canals of Tenochtitlan without funeral honors, unthinkable for an emperor. Some researchers believe that Moctezuma's body was secretly hidden, possibly along with treasures that have never been found. 3. Moctezuma's missing treasure. Where is it? When Hernán Cortés arrived in Tenochtitlan in 1519, he found an impressive metropolis and a society at the height of its power. The Mexica gold quickly aroused Spanish greed, fueling rising tensions. During the massacre at the Great Temple of Tenochtitlan in 1520, officially to prevent human sacrifices but probably motivated by ambition, the Spaniards killed hundreds of Mexicas. Taking advantage of the chaos, they kidnapped Moctezuma as a hostage to maintain control of the city. Pressed by a rebellion, the Spaniards tried to flee, carrying gold and precious stones. On the famous La Noche Triste, they threw part of the treasure into the city's canals to avoid capture. Cortés later returned, destroyed Tenochtitlan, and took over the territory, but the treasure's whereabouts were lost. Some believe the Mexicas managed to recover it and hide it. Others say it was taken north to what is now the United States. Even today, expeditions and treasure hunters search for this legendary fortune. Could Moctezuma's treasure still lie beneath Mexico City? 4. The wheel and the Mexicas. Ignorance or strategy? The wheel, one of humanity's greatest inventions, revolutionized civilizations around the world. However, among the Mexicas, it was not used for transportation or construction, even though evidence shows they understood the principle. Archaeologists have found ceramic toys with wheels, suggesting that the concept was known. But why didn't they apply it on a large scale? Some scholars argue that the lack of draft animals such as oxen or horses made the wheel impractical. Others believe its use might have been ritual or symbolic. Even without the wheel in their daily lives, the Mexicas built monumental pyramids and temples with ingenious techniques that still impress us today. The enigmas surrounding the Aztecs continue to intrigue researchers and enthusiasts, fueling the hope that new discoveries might one day shed light on these fascinating questions. And what about you? Have you ever stopped to imagine how many secrets still sleep beneath the ruins of ancient Tenochtitlan? 5. Teotihuacan, the enigmatic city of the gods. Teotihuacan stands among the greatest mysteries of Mesoamerica. Located about 50 kilometers from present-day Mexico City, this ancient metropolis once housed around 100,000 inhabitants, making it one of the largest cities of its time. Although the Aztecs revered Teotihuacan, by the time they arrived, it had been abandoned for centuries. It is estimated that the city's construction began around 400 BC, around a cave considered sacred, which gave rise to monumental temples, broad avenues, and extensive residential complexes. Who built Teotihuacan is still debated. For years, it was believed the Toltecs were responsible, but archaeological evidence shows that the city existed long before. One hypothesis suggests that its construction was driven by populations migrating after a volcanic eruption, transforming it into a refuge and a major cultural and commercial center. Despite its grandeur, the reasons for its rise and fall remain obscure. Its political power, cultural relationships, and the cause of its decline are enigmas that still challenge scholars. Aztec body painting. One fascinating aspect of the Aztecs was the body painting used in rituals and battles. The specific patterns and colors still raise questions. Were they merely spiritual symbols, or did they also have practical purposes, such as repelling insects or serving as medicinal protection? This is a question that archaeologists continue to investigate. 6. Teotihuacan's commercial dominance, influence, or conquest. Teotihuacan exerted immense commercial and cultural power throughout Mesoamerica. Its products, ceramics, obsidian, and others, reached distant territories, and its monumental architecture inspired awe. However, how the city achieved this position of prominence is still debated. One theory suggests that its cultural and architectural prestige attracted other peoples, fostering trade relations. However, archaeological findings suggest that its power may also have been imposed by military force. Murals depict heavily armed warriors, wearing shell goggles and feathered headdresses. Armed with atlatls, dart throwers, they may have been key to expanding the city's influence, both by defending trade routes and subjugating neighboring peoples. The Temple of the Feathered Serpent is another piece of evidence of militarism. Decorated with sculptures of Quetzalcoatl, the temple was the site of dark ceremonies. During its inauguration, around 200 people, possibly war captives, were sacrificed. This act not only reaffirmed military power, but also reinforced the city's religious beliefs. 7. Secret tunnels beneath Teotihuacan, pathways to the sacred. Beneath the imposing pyramids of the sun and the feathered serpent, archaeologists have discovered tunnels that continue to intrigue scholars. These underground passages, sealed off for nearly 2 millennia, hold mysteries beyond what current science can fully explain. The first tunnel was discovered after a sinkhole opened at the base of the Temple of the Feathered Serpent. Approximately 100 meters long, it connects the temple to the main courtyard, and features a cross-shaped chamber. Inside, archaeologists found necklaces, ceramic figurines, and even human skin remains, indicating that the site may have been used for sacrificial rituals. The reason for its closure remains an enigma. Perhaps it was to protect something sacred or to hide ancestral secrets. 8. The decline of Teotihuacan, rebellions, and natural disasters. When the Aztecs arrived in the region centuries later, they encountered ruins. But what caused the fall of such a powerful city? The most accepted theory points to a combination of factors. Around 750 AD, Teotihuacan faced a popular uprising. Peoples from the outskirts, oppressed by the local elite, rebelled, destroying administrative buildings and setting temples ablaze. Additionally, a severe drought struck the region at the same time, exacerbating social and economic tensions. Unable to recover, the city was abandoned and its inhabitants dispersed, carrying fragments of their culture with them. 9. Teotihuacan's religious influence on the Aztecs. When the Aztecs arrived at Teotihuacan, they were deeply impressed by the grandeur of its ruins. They considered it the work of the gods, naming it Teotihuacan, meaning place where the gods were created. This fascination decisively marked Aztec religion. They began to worship the feathered serpent, Quetzalcoatl, and adopted architectural and ritual elements they encountered there. Thus, Teotihuacan's religious heritage became woven into Aztec beliefs, creating a fusion of ancient traditions. 10. Epidemics and the fall of the Aztecs. The combined impact of wars and diseases introduced by Europeans accelerated the Aztecs' downfall. A 2018 study conducted by researchers from the Max Planck Institute, Harvard University, and the Mexican National Institute of Anthropology and History provided new insights on the topic by analyzing DNA from skeletons found in a mass grave. The scientists detected traces of Salmonella enterica, the bacterium that causes typhoid fever, in 10 of the 29 skeletons examined. This finding aligns with historical accounts of a devastating epidemic that struck Mexico and Guatemala between 1545 and 1550, causing high fevers, vomiting, and bleeding. Although the exact origin of the epidemic remains unclear, many believe the bacterium was introduced by the Spanish conquerors. It possibly acted alongside other diseases, such as smallpox, to decimate local populations. Interestingly, this strain of Salmonella is now rare in Europe and the Americas, but is still found in parts of Africa and Asia. The epidemic not only killed millions, but also deeply destabilized Aztec society, making it easier for the Spanish to advance. 12. The Aztec Skull Tower, reality or myth. Among the most striking descriptions made by the Spanish conquerors is the terrifying skull tower known as Tzompantli. Francisco López de Gómara, drawing on the accounts of Andrés de Tapia and Gonzalo de Umbría, described a frightening structure built of enemy skulls, displayed as a massive wall in front of Tenochtitlan's main temple. For a long time, many thought this story was an exaggeration or even an invention. However, recent excavations in Mexico City confirmed that similar structures did exist. More than 676 skulls were identified in one of the findings. It is estimated that between 30,000 and 136,000 skulls may have been used in constructing the Tzompantli, arranged in a circle about 60 meters in diameter. 13. What was the function of the Tzompantli? Early Spanish chronicles claimed that the skulls belonged to captured enemy warriors and served to intimidate adversaries. However, archaeological studies contradict this version. Among the analyzed skulls, remains of women and children were also found. "We expected only young male warriors," said Rodrigo Bolaños, an anthropologist involved in the research. "But finding women and children changed our perspective. Thus, researchers concluded that the Tzompantli was not merely an instrument of military intimidation, but also had a ceremonial character. The displayed heads represented offerings to the gods, especially the sun, as part of religious rituals. Similar structures have been found at other Mesoamerican sites, such as Chichen Itza and Tula, indicating that these practices were widespread in the region. Epidemics, sacrifices, and the collapse of an empire are just some pieces of the complex puzzle that was the downfall of the Aztec domain. Aztec water clocks. Archaeological discoveries indicate that the Aztecs used water clock-like devices to measure time and organize their intricate rituals. However, the exact functioning of these devices remains shrouded in mystery. Did they learn this technology from another civilization or develop it independently? 14. The origin of the turquoise in Aztec mosaics. Aztec mosaics are one of the most emblematic artistic expressions of their culture. Daggers, bracelets, and ceremonial ornaments were decorated with turquoise fragments, but the source of these stones remained a mystery for a long time. The prevailing hypothesis was that the Aztecs obtained turquoise through trade with peoples from what is now the southwestern United States, where mines for this mineral were known. However, a study published in 2018 challenged this theory. By analyzing the stones used in Aztec mosaics, researchers found that their geological composition differed from that of North American turquoise and matched that of Mesoamerican soils. Although this discovery solved part of the puzzle, it raised another question. If the turquoise was local, why haven't mining traces been found in the region? The leading hypothesis is that the Aztecs used natural deposits that have not yet been identified or may have been depleted. The true origin remains an enigma. 15. When was the Codex Borbonicus produced? The Codex Borbonicus is one of the most precious Aztec manuscripts, revealing details of the rituals and customs of this civilization. Comprising 36 richly illustrated pages created with natural pigments on Mesoamerican paper, the Codex survived the passage of time and the destruction caused by the conquerors. Dated between 1500 and 1550, its origin remains a mystery. It is unknown whether it was completed before or after the fall of Tenochtitlan in 1521. Currently housed in the Bourbon Palace in France, it is one of the few codices that escaped the flames of the Spanish conquest. It continues to be a window into the Aztec world. 16. New archaeological discoveries. What will the future reveal? In 2022, a find in Mexico City reignited archaeologists' excitement. The skeleton of a sacrificed jaguar, dressed as a warrior, was discovered inside a stone box, accompanied by offerings such as starfish and corals. These items indicate devotion to Huitzilopochtli, the god of the sun and war. Beneath the jaguar, archaeologists identified a solid object that has not yet been removed. Leonardo Lopez Lujan, the archaeologist leading the excavations, suggests it may be an urn containing the ashes of Ahuitzotl, the penultimate Aztec emperor. If confirmed, it would be the first royal Aztec tomb ever discovered, potentially transforming our understanding of Mexican royal funerary rituals. 17. The offering boxes at the Templo Mayor, ritual and political mystery. Since the beginning of the excavations at the Templo Mayor, archaeologists have found more than 200 boxes containing ritual offerings. These deposits hold sacred objects such as starfish, corals, and remains of sacrificed animals, representing the Aztec connection with the underworld and the sun's journey. Scholars believe the offerings served not only a religious function, but also reinforced imperial power. During public ceremonies, they were displayed on raised platforms, serving as a powerful propaganda tool that strengthened the authority of priests and the empire before the population. 18. Was Cuauhtémoc, the last Aztec emperor, betrayed? Cuauhtémoc is remembered as the last ruler who defended Tenochtitlan during the final days of the Spanish siege. Even with the city devastated by smallpox and the desertion of allies, he bravely resisted for more than 80 days. After the fall of Tenochtitlan, on the 13th of August, 1521, Cuauhtémoc was captured while attempting to escape. Accounts say that he asked Hernán Cortés to kill him immediately, but Cortés spared his life, only to subject him to torture, trying to discover the whereabouts of the lost treasure. Sometime later, on an expedition to Central America, Cuauhtémoc was accused of conspiracy and executed. Many historians, such as Fernando de Alba Ixtlilxochitl, consider that Cortés fabricated the accusation to justify his death. Cuauhtémoc's fate still symbolizes the end of an empire that fought until the very last moment. Some modern scholars believe that Cuauhtémoc may have hidden part of the treasure before being captured, a possible attempt to preserve his people's heritage. This detail adds yet another layer of mystery to his story. 19. The enigma of the death whistles. Among the most fascinating discoveries of Aztec culture are the enigmatic death whistles. Small objects made of ceramic or bone, often shaped like skulls, emit disturbing sounds reminiscent of agonizing screams or terrifying howls. Although their exact function remains a mystery, several hypotheses attempt to uncover their role. Spiritual rituals. They were likely used in religious ceremonies to symbolize the suffering of the sacrificed or to summon supernatural entities. Warfare tactics. Some scholars believe the whistles were used to instill fear on the battlefield, unsettling enemies with their terrifying sounds. Perception alteration. Recent research suggests that when played in pairs, these whistles produce infrasound beats capable of altering human perception, creating states of altered consciousness. Despite decades of investigation, the death whistles remain shrouded in mystery, attracting both academics and enthusiasts. Modern reports say that the sound of these whistles provokes chills and a sense of threat even in those unaware of their history. The Aztec perspective on life and death. For the Aztecs, death was not an end, but a passage. They viewed human sacrifice as essential to maintaining cosmic harmony. Did this belief shape the way they faced the collapse of their empire? This remains a topic that fascinates scholars, challenging our own notions of mortality. 20. Were the Spanish mainly responsible for the Aztecs' demise? Although the Spanish conquest was the trigger for the Aztec collapse, the downfall of this civilization resulted from multiple factors. Devastating epidemics, such as smallpox and typhoid fever, decimated the indigenous population, undermining both military and social resistance. Recent research revealed that typhoid fever may have been caused by the bacterium Salmonella enterica, spread through contaminated water and food. The transformations brought by the conquerors, including the introduction of new animals and agricultural practices, may have favored the spread of this deadly disease. The destruction of Tenochtitlan and the subsequent political and social reorganization completed the disintegration of the empire, fragmenting power and erasing part of its identity. 21. Why is there still so much mystery surrounding the Aztecs? Much of what we know about the Aztecs was recorded by Spanish chroniclers who often distorted or oversimplified their traditions and beliefs. Additionally, the destruction wrought by the invaders erased much of the original records, hindering modern understanding of this civilization. With advances in archaeological excavations and new technologies, researchers have been able to reconstruct a more authentic view of the Aztecs, based on their own works and artifacts. As researcher Diana Moreras notes, now we are interpreting the Aztecs from what they themselves produced, not just from what Europeans wrote. This work is slow and requires investment, but it is paving the way to uncovering mysteries that remained hidden for centuries, recognizing the cultural depth of this people. Perhaps the greatest mystery lies not only in their ruins, but in how their stories still affect us today, showing the strength of a civilization that refused to be erased. The history of the Aztecs is a blend of extraordinary achievements, profound beliefs, and enigmas that continue to challenge us. Each secret yet to be revealed makes us reflect on the brilliance and challenges that shaped Mesoamerica. As archaeology and science advance, it is as if the voices of the past echo, bringing forth surprising revelations. There is still much to discover, and each new piece brings us closer to understanding the true essence of this extraordinary culture. If you found these mysteries intriguing, don't just stay curious. Subscribe to the channel, share the video, and join us on this journey of discoveries. After all, understanding the past helps us see the present and the future more clearly. Until the next video, share your opinion. Which Aztec mystery intrigued you the most? Do you think there are still treasures or secrets hidden beneath Mexico City? Leave your comment and share this video with your friends who are also interested in ancient civilizations. Who knows, maybe together we will help unravel the next great mystery.